Hi there, this is Fran Torsen. We're going to talk about special reports, how you can create a special report and leverage that in your marketplace, and how you can actually launch the report and do something really, really special with it. Lots of people, go to websites, they see information that is valuable, information they really, really like contained in special reports, and they download them all the time. It's a good thing to know how that works so you can do it yourself and actually leverage your knowledge in the marketplace. You'll see I'm doing things a little bit differently here than I usually do. If you've been with me for some years, you know I usually use PowerPoint. Well, I've been taking some online courses recently where internet marketers have been using a mind mapping presentation. I have found it to be very, very rich. I have found it's a wonderful, wonderful way for me to learn. It's a great way to organize thoughts. It's a great way to organize my thoughts, and I think it's a great way to share information. A lot of people and a lot of the tools that we have, are bright, shiny objects that come with directions on how to use them, but the strategy behind it, the way that you can actually leverage those tools, use them in your marketplace to grow your business, as well as make money. Well, that sometimes gets lost. So I'm taking a bird's eye view of the situation, and I'm going to talk about all of the aspects of developing and working with reports, from creation to reports, to some of the basic strategy, to creating, a lead generation machine, and certainly you can do that, how to build a list, and then, of course, how to scrub and qualify your leads. And all of this, of course, around the notion of a special report. And we're doing this around HUD homes today. We've got a special report. You have a download available for you right now that is about HUD homes, and those are 5 of the questions people ask me most about HUD homes. So now the first thing that you need to know, and that anybody needs to know about a special report, is how to create a special report. And you have a couple of choices there. You can either create your own, and that's a great thing to be able to do, or you can work with a template. In the case of our situation here, we're going to be working with a template that I created for you, and I am giving it to you without any conditions or anything attached to it. You can take it, you can modify it, you can change it, you can rewrite it, you can do whatever you want because it's my gift to you. In other cases, you may be buying templates. Sometimes they're called PLR, which is private licensing rights, and you buy licensing rights for different types of reports, different types of digital products that you can use. Sometimes you can modify them. Sometimes you can't put your name on them. Sometimes the licensing rights prohibit you from doing that, so just be aware of that. So again, you can create a report, you can create your own, or you can use this template. So assuming that we are going to be using the template, let's take a look and let's see what parts of the template we need to be thinking about and working with, because the template has a number of things to consider. Number one is the cover. And the cover has a headline, and the headline is something that right now pertains to HUD homes. You may work in the HUD homes market, and perhaps you don't work in the HUD homes market. So the rules that I'm talking about here really apply to any niche. And I'm going to talk about that for just a minute. And then for the balance of the presentation, I'm going to talk mostly about HUD homes. But you can take this template, you can take everything that I'm about to tell you, and you can apply it to your own niche. So whether you are working with HUD homes or a first-time home buyer market, which is a great, great niche, you may be working with residential investors who are people who want to buy properties either to flip them or rent them out for recurring income. You may have, oh my goodness, I'm losing my mind map. It's like I'm losing my mind. Hold on a second here. I'll get it right back. I need to be a little bit careful, I see, here with my controls. They're a little bit, well, that's because they're reading what I have to say here. So here we go. We're up to residential investors. We have people who work and agents who specialize in the horse property niche. We have a second home market. That's a great niche. There's a new niche that I found recently that I never heard of, and that's probably why my screen was jumping around. There are clothing optional condos, which is a niche that I never knew about. So I don't know where I've been for 59 years, but I think that's a very, very fun niche to talk about. There is a condo community here in Tucson that I found out about some months ago, and I just think that has some very interesting possibilities in terms of marketing and special reports. And I hope that if anybody does a special report on the clothing optional condo market, that you will certainly send it to me so that I can see, what that's all about. I haven't had a chance to do a whole lot of study about it, but anyway, I'm getting off track here. The bottom line is that this lesson applies to whatever you are doing relative to your marketing, any niche. But try to make it about a niche. Don't make it about general purpose real estate. Real estate is not one size fits all, and reports about one size fits all are not going to go anywhere. So what you want to do is develop reports that will target the niche that you're working in. In this case, we are talking about HUD homes, and so select your niche and pick that out, and the same rules will apply. When you're looking at the headline, be sure you use power words. Be sure you use words that are compelling, that will draw the reader's attention. What were the words in the headline of the page that made you click on and check out this lesson? That's an interesting thing. If you are in our No Blogger Left Behind program, there's a copywriting book that Denise Lonis and I wrote that actually has a whole chapter about power words, and it has hundreds and hundreds of power words that you can use very, very effectively for writing headlines and writing copy and all kinds of things. When you're writing a headline, use a number. Make it talk about a list. Make a number. This was five insider secrets or 5 insider tips. A number is very, very important, and is something that draws people to click. Words like insider tips, secrets, reasons why. All of those are powerful words to communicate and to drive people to actually want to click and collect your special report. So think very, very carefully. Give your headlines a lot of thought, and be very, very careful with that. In the case of this particular report, you can stick with the existing headline, but change the author name. Right now it says by Frances Flynn Torsen and Denise Lonis. And you may think that, well, why would you tell me to change that? Of course I will. Well, I guess, most people will, but you will still be surprised at the number of people who do not change things like that on a template. So you want to be really, really careful about that and do that. You may also, if you're a broker, you just may want to put your brokerage name as the author of the report. You may want to put the name of your team, or again, just an individual agent. But author name is important. Just be sure that you change it. In days ahead, I'm going to be doing a series of videos, and of course we're being very, very strategic right now, and we're talking with an outline and in general terms. My next video is going to be very, very tactical and hands-on and how-to, where I'm going to take the actual report and make all of these changes in real time, so you can see exactly what I'm doing, how I'm clicking, where I'm clicking. And exactly how to accomplish all of this in the same step-by-step format, but with a tactical perspective. So keep your eyes open, and in the next couple of days, that video will be available. Take a look at the format. You can format the report any way you like. Certainly if you don't like the way the cover looks, if you don't like the black background, you can change that. You can do whatever you want. And also, take a look and see if the image is appropriate. Maybe you want to put your logo, a big logo there. Maybe you have another image that is an image in your marketplace of something that represents HUD homes in your marketplace. Or maybe you are a HUD homes listing agent and you would like to put a picture of some type of or a bunch of pictures of HUD homes in your market that you have listed. You don't have to be a listing agent to be able to advertise HUD homes or to be able to use pictures of HUD homes. So don't be afraid to use a HUD homes picture in your marketplace and do that, because HUD lets you do that as long as your brokerage is approved to sell HUD homes. We'll talk about the body text here. You can edit the copy. You can make changes there. Take a look at what's in the template, see what works for you, see where you might want to put in stories or anecdotes about people in your marketplace. Put in a couple of images. Again, I think pictures of HUD homes are great. I think pictures of before and after images of properties that were fixed up are great. Personalize it. Put your name on it, of course. Put your name in the footer. Make that footer hyperlinked. I'll show you how to do that in the next video, but those are really, really good. So take a look at that body text and get ready to change it. In terms of formats, the special report format, you can work with this in various formats. What you have right now is a Word document. Word document is very, very good, but the way you're going to be sharing it in most cases is as a PDF. You don't want people to be taking your document and changing it. You don't want other real estate agents to take your document and change it once you've gone through all that work. And you'll likely want to share it as a PDF. It's a much smaller file size, and it's something that people are used to reading. You may also want to take the information in the report and create a series of short videos. Take the tips one at a time and make a 1-minute video or a 2-minute video. The sweet spot with these types of videos is 90 seconds. So if you can make 5 90-second videos, it's a great way to repurpose the content in the special report. And then, of course, you have to host the report somewhere. And by hosting, I mean you have to store it online in a cloud. It has to be an online link. When you're sharing it with people, if you want to share the report by email with people or on your web page, it's going to be through a link. And never send PDF reports by email to people. It's something that will annoy them, it will aggravate them, and in many, many cases it won't even get past their spam server. So think about that. Different places where you can host your blog, host your report, or on your blog. If you're using a WordPress blog, there are, you can actually, upload your PDF into your WordPress dashboard, and then create a link in a blog post or somewhere else where people can actually download it. You've got to be careful. Make sure that you have, that you don't have a humongous file size, and if you need to expand the amount of space that you need for that type of download, think about that. Google Docs is another place where you can store your information with a link to people, or you can use box.net. So those are all places online where you can host your report and be able to share that with a link. And let's talk a little bit about the strategy of working with the report. There are a couple of different types of strategies. Probably the most common types of things I've seen are people just putting it on their blog or announcing that they have a special report, and then as Jeff Walker is probably the Steve Jobs of the product launch world in the internet marketing community. He calls it hope marketing. Put something out there, announce that you have something, and then hope that somebody asks you for it or wants a copy. So hope marketing is a more passive type of a strategy, and what I'm suggesting here is that we do something that's just a whole lot more active than that. And active strategies are to think, okay, are we going to give this away for free, or are we going to ask people to pay us for it? Obviously, as a marketing vehicle, free is definitely going to trump paid, unless you're producing something that is extremely valuable where you want to have money. Then that becomes a whole other type of training. But for the purposes of our discussion here today, we're going to assume that we're going to be offering this for free. You may want to consider issuing your report as an event-based announcement. It may be in conjunction with something else. It may be that you were just approved for HUD homes, or you're the new listing agent in town, and so as the new listing agent in town, you are going to be offering this this free report about HUD homes. It could have to do with whatever you're doing. So it could be event-based, which is tied to something, of course, that has a date. The other way of considering your strategy is an evergreen strategy. And an evergreen strategy, it doesn't have to be tied to anything. It just has to be pretty much, mentions of the report are not tied to a season, are not tied to events, and you can put a marketing plan into play that is good all the time, that does not become outdated, that does not become old news, because if you structure this right, if you structure your launch correctly, it will always look new, and it will always, anybody who arrives, upon the knowledge that you have this report, is going to be, going to be looking at it for the first time. Lead generation. Okay, I'm not crazy about the word lead, if you want to know the truth, but this is our vernacular, or the vernacular of the business, so I'm going to go with that. But of course, lead generation is important. That's why you're doing this. You're doing this so that you can meet more people who will be doing business with you. And so there are different types of lead generation. There are the lead generation in the brick and mortar world and lead generation on the web. And we're going to talk about both here, because a special report can be used in both types of cases. You can use a special report at open houses. And I know a lot of people don't think that open houses are still a good thing to do. I've always been a strong believer in open houses. If you do open houses right, it's going to be good for your business, it's good for your sellers. And I think the special report is a really neat thing to print out and bring to an open house. And I think that you can bring it to almost any kind of an open house. Would I bring a special report about HUD homes to a luxury homes open house? Probably not. But almost any other kind of property, residential property, would be fine. Some people operate under a misconception that HUD homes are all cheap or just not worth looking at, or just not a very, very nice opportunity. I have found in my business that everybody wants to know about HUD homes, and I'll give you a quick example here. And I again, it was quite interesting, because when I was selling HUD homes, and I sold HUD homes for many years in Pennsylvania, it was one of the myths and misconceptions that I had going into the business. But what happened was that I would get a telephone call, because I did a lot of marketing. I would get a telephone call and say, tell me about these HUD homes. What is this about? I've always wondered about this. And I would explain about owner-occupant priority in the bidding process, about the fact that that investors could purchase, and what those qualifications were, yada, yada, yada. And I would hear, that's interesting, probably not what I'm looking for. Hey, tell me, what do you have in your market there in Allentown that might be, that's between 10 and 20 units that will give me a cap rate of 13%. And so that was always a very, very interesting kind of a comeback. After I did my little, my little song and dance about HUD homes. And what happened in my business was that inside of 2 years that I was working with HUD homes, I went from an agent who did 90% of my work to owner-occupant residential properties, to a point where 75% of my business was with investors who were buying residential investment properties, either single units or multi-units or whatnot. So that was what came out of that. So don't think that if you're having an open house, on a house that is maybe $400,000 in a price point, that a giveaway about HUD homes is necessarily not going to be received well, because in many cases it will. And when you go to an open house, you can take one of two approaches. You can bring printed copies. If you bring printed copies, obviously print them in color, bind them nicely, do something nice so that they look nice, or offer to email them. On your registration form, you may have one copy there, just for people to look at and say, would you like me to email you a copy? I only have one. I've given the rest of them away. It will give you an opportunity to collect people's email addresses and then send them the link. Remember, you're not going to send the PDF. You're only going to send the link. You can also use it as an advertising lead magnet in newspapers, if you are still advertising in newspapers, in homes magazines. You can do it as a display ad, which is just a little ad that is, devoted just to the HUD homes. Call us or email us, and we'll send you a copy of our of our special report. Or at the end of a property, you may say, you may have listings in your homes magazine about HUD homes, and at the end of the property say, for a special report about HUD homes, email us or go to this website. So those are ways that you can do that offline. And then online lead generation, well, you got a whole bunch of possibilities here. Okay, obviously you can use this on your website, put it on your website. You can make a blog post, a single blog post, a blog article, talking about that. And, don't forget, you have it on your main blog. By now, most of you probably, hopefully you have a WordPress blog as your main blog. But you can also put it on your secondary blogs and in forums. If you have whether you have a Realtown blog, Active Rain, Blogger, blogs at Trulia, which are a great place to do this kind of stuff. Lots and lots of buyers over there. Same thing with Zillow Discussions. That's not a blog, but you can go over there and see who's talking about HUD homes, or who's talking about first-time homebuyer properties or FHA 203K mortgages. Engage in the discussion and then have a link to a page where people can find information about your blog or about your special report. And the same thing over in Yahoo Discussions. And you should know by now that Zillow and Yahoo are kind of teamed up, and all of the property listings at Yahoo are now powered by Google. That was pretty exciting. Okay, the other places where you can put it online are in the blog sidebar, in the blog footer, in a line that would probably be in the sidebar. You're going to have a special some code and a little form, an online web form where people are going to sign up for it. In the footer, what you probably will have is just a little text link. And again, I'm going to show you exactly how to do all of this tomorrow. We don't have a whole lot of that time today. I'm going to want to get through the strategy and the blueprint, and then tomorrow we'll show you a little bit more hands-on on that. You may have a blog resources page. You may, hopefully, really, if you're doing great, you may have an online newsroom. And if you have an online newsroom, you may want to think about doing a press release and talk about a press release. You've just, put together a report. It answers the 5 most asked questions from buyers about what they should know about buying HUD homes, and handle it that way. The other way of doing it, this really gets a little bit more advanced, but it's called a squeeze page. And a squeeze page can be a regular HTML page, or it can be a blog page that has one purpose. And the single purpose of that page, okay, is to generate leads. And that's it. There's no other purpose. It's not about anything else but generating leads. And that's what it's all about. A squeeze page has a rather simple design. It has a very, 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 very prominent headline. It should be written with really real catchy words, something very, very compelling. It has a very prominent opt-in form that you can see. It's above the fold. It's easy to reach. It's, it just says here, fill in your name and email address, and don't ask them for too much, for crying out loud. Because the more you ask them for, the less chance you're going to have of somebody filling it in. There will probably be an image on the page, or possibly a video. I will tell you that videos do depress registrations on a squeeze page. You may be hearing otherwise. What I'm hearing from the top internet marketers in the world, and the guys that are responsible for for hundreds of millions of dollars of sales in the course of a year, these people are saying that's not true, and that it is mostly images. They do a lot of testing and a lot of split testing, and that's what they have to say. Okay. The other thing that will be on the page, you may see a little bit of text. Not a lot. People don't really read the text anymore. They scan it. You may see a couple of bullet points. They've done a lot of testing about this too. So a squeeze page is a very, very simple design, and something that you really want to start wrapping your brains around if you want to be doing some real good lead generation. That's something that we probably will be talking about a lot at No Blogger Left Behind in greater length one of these days. So take a look at squeeze pages. And then, of course, the other way to generate leads is in social media, in the social web. And where are you going to work on the web? You're going to look also at Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and you're going to learn how to actually use those places, right? Figure out what they're all about, and leverage your presence there. Well, that's another another kind of discussion. Okay, real important point here right now is about building a list. Okay, you need to have a list. You want to have a list of buyers. Right now, the way that most agents are building a list online is by working with their IDX, and that is of course the kind of a plug-in or the kind of a service they use to display property listings on their websites or their blogs. And when people come and they register for property searches, they give their name and email address, and that's the primary way that people are building lists right now. But people are looking for other kinds of content, and so blog subscriptions and special reports and other ways of building relationships are becoming more and more important. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk first about the strategy attached to list building, real estate list building, and then we're going to talk about some of the tools and the tactics that you need to do that. And of course, we're going to be talking about the strategy involved with a special report right now. So what are we looking to do with the special report? Okay, first thing we want to do is we want to gather the names of prospects, of new people who will be doing business with us. We want to develop a follow-up plan. We want to keep in touch with them. We want to keep them in the loop, and we want our name to be front and center at all times. And at some point, sooner rather than later, whenever they're ready, we want to be there. And that point in time, that is when we can convert those leads, those prospects, to clients. So that's the strategy about list building. The tools and the tactics. What do you need? The first thing you need is an autoresponder. We'll talk about that. And the next thing you need are messages that will be attached that create a campaign for the follow-up. So let's take a look at the autoresponder. There are a number of many different choices. You can use whomever you like, any service you like. I will say that I use Aweber. I've tried some of the other ones. Aweber comes most highly endorsed by the people who do this business the best in the world, and that's why I went with it. They have the best record for email delivery. You're going to see less fall through the cracks. And they have lots and lots of different functions and features that are attached to that. It's a paid service. It starts at about $19 a month. That's pretty much all I really want to say. I mean, I know some people like MailChimp, they keep their lists low, it's free, blah, blah, blah. GetResponse is something that I hear pretty good stuff about. Infusionsoft is great, very expensive though. So that's an autoresponder system that is built into a CRM, a customer relationship manager. Some people, if you're doing a lot of e-commerce and you want to tie together your autoresponder and your CRM and your e-commerce and your shopping carts and all of that, Infusionsoft is a very good solution and probably the best for that. And of course, there's Constant Contact, iContact. If you have something in place already and it's working, just continue to use it and just upgrade it. That's about all I can say about that. Messages. Okay, messages are the emails that go out when somebody comes on your list. So the first thing that happens when somebody comes on your list is they get a message that says, "Welcome to, here I am. We've got some more information for you about HUD Homes. I've got some more information about a HUD Homes report." And then there is a sequenced delivery of additional messages that follow that. So here, as far as messages, you want them to be relevant to the event that brought those people to your list. So if they came in on a squeeze page that was promising them a report about HUD Homes, you want to be sure that the messages that follow are tied into that same theme. So you don't want to start sending them other stuff right away about general real estate and about, or about, beachfront properties, stuff that's very general, that's not specific. You want to stay relevant. You want to have a logical sequence, and you want this to be on autopilot. And that's very important. And what you do is you take these messages and you put them into your autoresponder and you say, okay, I've got 10 messages here. I want them to go out, at 5-day intervals, and they will go out automatically. So what kind of messages do you send out with, when somebody's asking for a HUD report? Well, you may want to have a series of messages that talk about, owner-occupant versus investor finance, investor purchases. You may want to talk about FHE 203K financing that lets them build the cost of repairs in the home. You may want them to understand that the multi-list is not the best place for them to be looking at houses. There are lots of little things. It becomes like a little mini course, and you can you can schedule those intervals at any any way you like. And one of the things that I'm going to be doing in one of these videos coming up here in this series is actually giving you a download of messages, of email messages that you can use on your autoresponder. It's going to be a free gift in the next few days here. That's part of this series that will be coming from me. So keep your eyes open, because you'll be able to take those and just plop them right into your autoresponder. Don't I sound like a boomer, don't I? I'm going to plop those messages into your autoresponder. Well, you can do that. You can save yourself some work, and there will be a series of 10 messages. That's called a swipe file. When somebody is sharing, or something, you can go out and you can buy email messages. You can go out and you can buy that kind of thing, again, with private licensing rights that lets you do that. You can buy all that kind of. You can buy free reports. You can buy swipe files for email. You can do all of that. Well, just by sitting in on this little video series here with me, I'm going to give you the template for the report, and I'm also going to give you email messages that you can use that are relevant to HUD homes, that are in a logical sequence that will put your autoresponder on autopilot, and we'll do that very, very soon. Incidentally, I'm going to be doing this. We're going to keep this up. I don't know how long I'm going to keep up this series. There are some differing views about this, as a way of outreach. Certainly, I'm going to take this and I'm going to include it in the Government Home Sale Professional Program that we have online about HUD homes, and this will become a permanent part of that program, as long as it stays relevant. But I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep it live. I'm happy, for anybody who wants to sign in and sit through this right now. I'm not sure if it's going to be up for a week or for a month, or if I'm going to do this long term. I'm working with Denise Lonis. We're doing this Government Home Sale Professional Program, and it may be it stays up for a long time, and it may be that it's going to come down in a week after we're finished. So, get your downloads right away, and start working with this, and we'll see how this goes. Next step is to scrub and qualify your leads. Okay, now you've got people, all right? You've got the report. You've got people who are coming and signing up for your report, and you're getting a bigger and bigger list of prospects on your list there, on your autoresponder list. Now, what do? What is your plan about scrubbing and qualifying your leads? Well, a couple things. First of all, you know that you have to contact them very, very quickly. And, from one year to the next, we're finding out that people are dealing with the first person who gets in touch with them. And certainly, the numbers are still around 80% of consumers who are doing business with the first or second agent who contacts them. So timing is very, very, very critical. And get in touch with them. What you want to do is, when you set up your email autoresponder, when people contact you, you want to be sure that they get back a note right away by email that acknowledges that, and that says that you'd be happy to get back in touch with them. You may ask them at this point in time with that first email, you may ask them for their telephone number or give them a number to contact you. SMS is another way to be in touch with people and getting in touch with them. I'm using SMS responses on my webinar registrations right now, and that's working kind of neat, because I give people an option of putting in their telephone number if they want to be notified 15 minutes before the webinar, and I'm finding that most people like to do that. That gets a little bit more advanced right now. That's way, way beyond the scope of what we're doing here. So I'm not going to do that at this point in time. And I don't know what the screen is doing here. I think it's saving. I've got an online mind mapping save here. So that's what's happening. That's why we see that little whirly gig. Okay. So how else are you going to get in touch with people by phone? Well, we're not really asking them for their number yet. But, some people who are going to be opting in, Maybe people who already exist on your list. Maybe they are past clients who are getting back in the market. Maybe they are people who you know personally. Maybe they are people who exist on your list and you have a telephone number for them already. And if that is the case, then pick up that phone and dial and call and say, hello, I got your message. What can I do for you? Okay? Very important. Identify. Who is your buyer? Okay, is your buyer a HUD buyer? Okay, and when you're talking to them and qualifying them, find out if that is somebody who really is interested. If it's a HUD buyer, is it an owner-occupant? You know, is it somebody who wants to live in the property as a primary residence for at least a year? Is it somebody who's an investor who needs to be brought up to date on all the new changes in HUD relative to the investor qualifications and guidelines for bidding? You know, is it a nonprofit who's looking for something, who has some money to spend on some rehab? Maybe it's somebody from a nonprofit in town. Or is it a first responder? Is it is your buyer or your prospect a police officer or a fireman or an emergency medical technician, an EMT, or a teacher? Do they know that there are special programs for first responders and teachers that let them buy some HUD houses at 50% off? So identify your buyer, identify your HUD buyer, find out which category that person falls into, and then make an appropriate decision about exactly how you're going to be reaching out with additional information. Okay, if it's a buyer, maybe it's not a HUD buyer, but maybe maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Is it a buyer who's ready to purchase now, or is it a buyer who is going to be buying sometime in the future? If so, when? So that you can start to structure an outreach program that isn't urgent. I mean, there's some urgency attached if somebody is ready to buy now. If somebody is qualified and somebody wants to be out looking at properties, you're going to be making appointments. You're going to be previewing properties. You're going to be getting disclosures ready, a whole bunch of paperwork ready. And all of those types of preparations change based on the amount of time that you have to incubate or work with that buyer. You know, is it a seller perhaps? If it's a seller, then have the appropriate conversations. Or is it another real estate professional? You know, do you have other real estate agents signing in and collecting your reports? And if so, how do you want to handle that? Do you want to keep them on your list, or do you want to remove them from your list? Typically, I'll be honest with you, I used to leave agents on my list. I did that for a couple of reasons. Number one, a lot of people assigned their knowledge about HUD homes to me over many, many years. I never took a real estate agent off my list. Sometimes real estate agents shared the information that I gave to them. They shared it with other buyers. You'd be surprised, many, many times those buyers came to me because the agent shared information with them, but the agents were not able always to do the right things. They didn't really understand the HUD homes market. Perhaps they didn't answer questions right, and so sometimes people came to me, and that was always very, very interesting. But I picked up a lot of buyers that way, and not everybody has buyer broker contracts, and sometimes people are just unhappy with other real estate agents, and it's a way that they come to you. Also, it was interesting that people shared something from another real estate agent that they weren't doing themselves. So I took the initiative. I created the digital content. I used to do newsletters every single week. I did newsletters, and that was one of the things I did in my follow-up. I had weekly newsletters because at that point in time, HUD properties weren't coming on the market every day. They were coming on the market every week. But I had weekly newsletters about that, and people got that. So identify who is signing up for your report, and then have the appropriate response, and of course, regarding other real estate professionals, make a decision about exactly how you want to handle that. And then select a campaign. Again, is that somebody who's ready to buy? And if so, do you have the time to do that? Is somebody on your team or somebody in-house? Is this somebody who is further out in the buying process? Is this a lead you have to incubate and work with? And ultimately, is this a lead that you're going to that you want to keep, or do you want to refer it? Is this something that you're going to be able to do yourself, or is it outside of your area? geographically or outside of your area in terms of your expertise, or do you just have so much that you just can't handle, more than you have already, or more than you will have at the point in time when that person is ready. One of the things that you will see when you're working with programs like this, when you're working with special reports, when you start to work with very, very successful lead generation systems, you're going to find yourself in a position of being able to make a lot of referrals, even in your market area. So that's something that you need to look at from a strategic standpoint. How big is your office? How many leads will you be sharing within your office? How many leads will you be sharing with people in your market area out who are not in your office? And how will those plans come together? So these are all things that you really need to start thinking about. And the reason you need to start thinking about it is because, when you start to work with a campaign like this, you're going to start to generate a lot of leads and lots of prospects, and they're going to just explode your business, and that's what happens. So that's the big picture. I will have more for you soon. Let me know what you think about the mind map here, and I'll be in touch. I have another kind of a presentation coming up, which again is going to be working hands-on with the actual report, and then in a video after that we're going to do the hands-on with the autoresponder system, showing you how all of that is set up. We're going to pull all of this together for you, and so that by the time this series is done in a few days, it's going to be easy as 1, 2, 3 to launch a special report, because you'll be able to create it. You'll have a strategy. You'll have something in place about your leads. You're going to be building a list, and you're going to be scrubbing and qualifying new leads very, very soon as you get that launched. So I thank you for being here, and I will talk to you soon.